This week we are talking to the Hong Kong Blues, and we've got Gregory Knowles from Hong Kong Blues, who's the secretary, I believe. Is that right, Greg?
Yes, that's right. Branch secretary. I was chair for 4 years, and I just switched to branch secretary this season.
Oh, excellent. And talk to me about your past and your history in relation to Manchester City. You know, sure. Where originally did you come from, and why Man City?
Yeah. So, well, I'm from Wythenshawe originally, but I moved down to London after university, and then moved to Hong Kong about 20 years ago. So I've been living in Hong Kong for 20 years now. The City connection. I'm actually a third generation City fan. So my grandfather was involved in the official supporters club in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And my grandparents actually attended the 1934 FA Cup final and the cup finals in the 50s. So it's a family thing. My father was probably less interested than my grandfather, but my father used to take me along to the Platt Lane and then the Kippax in the 70s. And then I actually married a United fan. Don't quite know how that happened. No. But anyway, when my son was born, there was only one team he was going to support. So my son is now the fourth generation in my family of City fans, and he's at university here in London, and I was here on holiday, and we both went to the Spurs match last week. So we're both key fans. So yeah.
So you're on holiday back in London at the moment, are you?
That's right. I'm here because it's difficult to get into Hong Kong. Ideally, both my children would have come back to Hong Kong for the summer, but there's some very tough quarantine rules there. So it was just easy. I'm retired now, so it was just easier for myself and my wife to come out here to London. My son's just finishing off his degree at UCL, so that's why we're in London rather than Manchester. So yeah.
Nice one. Now let's talk about the Hong Kong branch. And talk to me about how big the membership is there and how big that branch is. When did it start? When did it start? Most importantly, and where did you meet?
Yeah, sure. So it started in 2010, and it was a bunch of expat guys in the 50s who just like drinking beer and watching football on the main sort of bar street in Hong Kong called Lockhart Road. So they organised the first few for the first few games or the first couple of seasons. Then the guys involved at the time, this was before my time in the club, met a guy called Mark, who was very interested in Man City. I think the story was he'd been a student in Manchester. I'm not 100% sure, but he had a connection with City, and he was a local, if you like, Hong Kong City fan, and he got the local guys involved. And so the club grew and grew, and we've now got 100 members involved. And the good thing about our club, and we think it's fairly unique, is that we are a mix of expats and locals. So it's a club for everyone. You know, everyone is welcome. You know, you can speak either language. You come along to the events, and you know, everybody is welcome. We operate.
So where'd you meet? Where'd you meet?
Yeah. So these days we've moved between various venues, but the current venue is a pub called the Trafalgar, and it's on Lockhart Road, which I just mentioned before. It's in Wan Chai, which is the main entertainment district in Hong Kong. So it's a kind of English style pub with lots of screens. They've been very accommodating to us. Some of the pubs in Hong Kong can be a little bit tricky because when there's a clash with the rugby games, they want to show the rugby. But we've done a deal with the manager of the Trafalgar, a guy called Sam, great guy, who promises that he will show us. He will always show our games. So that.
What type of time is the games on?
So so look, it doesn't work every game. There's typically either a 7-hour or an 8-hour time difference between Hong Kong and the UK. So Saturday kickoff 3 p.m. No problem. 5:30 p.m. That's half past midnight. It's getting a bit more problematical, and the numbers are less for that. Of course, evening kickoffs don't work. Midweek games don't work. But lunchtimes are great. The Saturday and Sunday lunchtime games work very well for us because that's early evening here.
Okay. And how many members have you got now? Official supporters?
Yeah. So we've got 100 members, which we're very pleased with. So typically for a big game, like a derby or the final game of the season, something like that, provided it's on at a reasonable time, we will get 50, 60 people along to the Trafalgar. On a more typical night, it would probably be, say, round about 20, something like that. So we have a sort of hardcore who always come along, and then there's a floating bunch of people who come along for the big games, and then there's a bunch of people who are, for whatever reason, they're teenagers and can't come along to a bar, or for whatever reason don't can't find it difficult to travel into Wan Chai. So they would only come very rarely, but there are other events that we organise. We have had a football team, I think, at some point, although I think that doesn't work at the moment. But there's also guys who do the FIFA gaming and all that kind of thing. I have to say, personally, I don't get involved in that. There are some other activities like that some of these guys participate in. It doesn't involve going to our pub, drinking beer and stuff.
I'll have to get involved. I'll have to get you involved with the Mancunian Way, because there's 3 or 4 guys that help run the channel. All do the things. We do the FIFA things on Twitch, because Twitch, as you know, is mainly a gaming channel, and, which we're on. We do a lot of live stuff on Twitch, and then switch it over to YouTube, which a lot of the fan channels are doing now. So I'll get you involved in that. We'll have to get you games with Rob, who helps run it, and have some live games on Twitch against the Hong Kong branch. That'd be quite interesting. Talk to me about, obviously, you've been around since 2010. You're at Trafalgar at the pub there. Do you share that pub with other football teams, or is it exclusive?
Yeah, so at the moment we have Rangers who come along, and also Leeds. So it's okay. I mean, the Trafalgar is a reasonably big pub, and can accommodate certainly two sets of fans. The previous venue we used to share with Chelsea, and after 1 or 2 minor incidents, the landlord said we would have to alternate, so we couldn't have both us and Chelsea at the pub at the same time. But anyway, this new place we've had no incidents, so it's been okay. So yeah,
it's been better. We as you know, I'm a member of the Melbourne branch, and we have to share that with Liverpool and Tottenham. And Southampton, and we have quite a bit of hassle with the Liverpool fans, unfortunately. But we tend to separate the rooms when we're playing at the same time. But there we go. And now, obviously,
the Trafalgar's been very good. So the Trafalgar's been very good to us in the sense that they let us put our memorabilia up. So one end of the pub, there's like an alcove area that's got all our stuff there. So we normally gravitate, of course, down to that. So it does kind of feel like home there. So yeah.
Do you run events at the branch as well that people get involved in, which attract members? How do you attract the members?
Primarily, it's been word of mouth. I think that's been the main thing. I think that the expat City fans, we'll go into the website and we'll find us through that. We've got our own website, and I think there's a page on the Man City official website for us as well. So they get in touch with us that way. I think the locals, who may or may not be, long-standing City fans, I think they come along based on sort of friendships and I guess word of mouth as well. So we don't, and we have had the debate, but we don't sort of actively promote the branch in the sense of You know, we don't sort of put adverts in newspapers, stuff like that. We want people to come along because they're keen and interested, you know, and we'll stick with us. There's some debate whether we really want to grow it much beyond 100, because what we'd like to preserve is an atmosphere when you come along to the Trafalgar. You know, there's a bunch of people that you know that basically, you know, you feel like it's you know, you're part of the gang. So there has been some discussion about that, and of course, future officials may take a different view, but certainly that's our view, I think we're all comfortable with that. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, as the team gets more and more popular because of the success that we're having in the last 10 years, does that have a bearing on bringing new members in? That yes, Premier League's big, isn't it? In Asia, it's massive.
Yeah. So look, I mean, I think it started out, as I said, in 2010 as a kind of an expat thing. Obviously, as the team got successful, you know, as we hit our stride, 2012, you know, won the Premiership, that attracted the locals in, as I say, potentially guys who didn't support City previously, and of course these were predominantly local guys. So that's really how it's developed. Yeah, as I say, I think we're very pleased with it. Yeah.
Is there any? Did you get involved in doing events for social events?
Yeah, you're asking about. So the primary events that we do obviously is watching the games. I mean that's the main thing. The other significant events that we've had have revolved around when the team has visited Hong Kong, which it has done a couple of times. Yes, it's done 2 or 3 times, I think, in the last 10 years. But we also had a trophy visit as well when the team weren't here. The club brought all the trophies along, and we had a very successful event there. I'm sure you know the kind of thing. So it's cover mics up, and we do a Q&A, and the trophies are there, photograph taken, all that kind of stuff. So those are sort of one-off events. In terms of regular events, not involving football, as I say, there was a football team, I think, for a little while, though I don't think that's currently up and running. FIFA, I just mentioned before. I think there's been the occasional sort of ad hoc thing. I think there was a barbecue organised, and I think we've had sort of gatherings when people have left Hong Kong, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Okay. So it's quite a social thing, which attracts people to come in and be part of the family, as you say.
Right.
How do people get in contact with the branch? If, let's say, I was moved to Hong Kong to work, which is what a lot of expats do, or a new supporter from Hong Kong, how would they get in contact with the branch to join?
Yeah. So what we're suggesting is that they contact me via my WhatsApp number, and that's on the website. We have our own website. I think I sent you the link for that. And my phone number is on there. I think there's also an email address on there, which I did make a mental note to check that somebody is actually picking up on that. I think Martin is the custodian of that. But either of those two routes, I think, would be what I would suggest. Yeah.
Okay. We'll get people involved in that. So if you are out there watching this and you're looking to get involved and watch the game with all fellow supporters in Hong Kong, there's a place to go and watch it all together and get involved in, which obviously Greg will help that, and bring everybody together to feel you're part of the network. What do you feel that Manchester City, do you feel connected to the club being out in Hong Kong, and if so, what the sort of things the club does to be apart from the trophy day? What else does the club need to do, and the supporters club do with Kevin Parker and people like that?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to say is, I think we do very much feel part of the worldwide official support club, as I say, and the trophy visits, really helped cement that. Access to tickets is also a big positive, and it's not just expats going going back. It's some of the local guys, obviously trying to difficult. But in previous years, we've had quite a few of the local guys, make a trip to, I guess they're on holiday in the UK, more broadly, but get tickets to games. So that's very much appreciated. In terms of other things, obviously Kevin does circulate things by email, which I then flick to the members more broadly. I can't think there's sort of any one thing that is missing. I mean, I suppose there obviously might be a sort of regular sort of newsletter or magazine, obviously distributed by email. That might be one thing, but I appreciate obviously there's a lot of effort in firstly setting that up and then obviously maintaining it over a period of time. But I think we do feel part of the OSC, and I think a big part of that, as I say, is because the support we've had, also the fact we're a branch that has both expats and locals. I think they like the fact that there are people sort of born and bred in Manchester who are a big part of the branch.
So the people obviously, the people obviously watching this don't seem to realise that there's a lot of expats going around the world to go and set up and live and work in different countries, and the city, Manchester City, becomes their connection to home. The biggest link to home is the club, and the city. As I live in Melbourne now, and I've been here 14 years. My love for the city's still there. It's still just strong. And when I think of home, I think of Main Road and the Etihad, because I was obviously there. And when I go home, one of the main reasons I go home, apart from to see family and friends, is to watch City and go and watch them. So it is important. Sure, I know you're back home in the moment in London, and you were at the games at the weekend and stuff like that, and I saw that. And it's a big thing when you go back to the Etihad. How did you feel when you went back to the ground, especially after COVID and all the troubles that we've had?
Yeah, fantastic. Obviously, delighted to be back again. And I mean, when I'm back in Manchester, I usually go back once a year in normal times. I'll always go and see all the games I possibly can. And I always, sometimes it depends when I go, but sometimes it's close season. When it is, I'll go along to the ground, have a walk round, buy a bunch of souvenirs. Which we then distribute as raffle prizes for our Christmas raffle. Absolutely. Visiting the Etihad is always a big part of my trip back. Yeah, very much so.
Well, we'll lighten it up now, and we'll talk about the old days and the good days, and the bad days. The bad days of watching City, and the certain type of personality you have to be a City fan, especially as the club call it, a legacy fan. Let's talk about the old days. Obviously, you touched on it. You were a Main Road fan like me. Started watching City in the Black Lane like me from years and years ago. Let's talk about that and talk about the old days and working your way through to the present day. And your thoughts of.
I mean, look. So from my earliest days, I was a City fan. I say my grandparents and my father started going. I originally, I remember my father used to take me in the era when they used to open the gates before the end, and you could actually go in and watch the last 20 minutes. So I think my father was taking me for a full hour and a half. He thought he might get bored. So I'm a young kid at this point. I'm like 6 or 7 years of age. So that was my very first experience. And then when I was maybe 10 or 11, we got season tickets for the Platt Lane, as I mentioned. So this is the 70s. So City and United basically, round about the same, in terms of their success or lack of. United, in fact, had dropped down into the second division for a season. So at school, I was at school at Wythenshawe, and it was about 50-50 at school between City and United. But I always remember. The going into school the day after we lost the derby, and that sort of dread of the fact that United fans were really going to going to rip into. So they were kind of my earliest memories. And then look, I mean, we had a good era in the 70s. We finished second. We won the FA Cup in '76, which I was there for. And things seemed to be reasonably promising. But then obviously they fell apart in the '80s, as everybody knows. United started to get a bit more successful. We became a kind of yo-yo team in the '80s. By this point in my life, so I'm now living in London. So I go along to the London games. I had a friend who come down from Manchester, and we go and see all the games in London. Then into the '90s. So what is City doing? So we kind of come back a little bit in the '90s. So I would go and see the games in London. I mean, and then of course we had the disastrous period towards the end of the '90s where we went down. So the season '98, '99, when we were in the old third division. Now I can't claim to be at the famous York game. Very sadly, I can't remember why I didn't go. But I did go to the Lincoln game. I remember I was living in Leeds at the time for a couple of years, and I remember driving down from Leeds to Lincoln, and we lost 2-1.
I was there. I was there that day.
Right. I think it was kind of my lowest point of supporting City. But you go along to support the team just the same. I mean, it's you enjoy the trip and the camaraderie, and you get behind the team. I mean, I think even if we'd not had the success that we've had over the last 10 years, if the Abu Dhabi thing had never happened, I mean, I would still support City. I would still go to the games, even if we're in the sort of second or third division.
Are you one of these fans that wishes for the dark days again and the old City, or are you quite happy with it?
Actually, no, I don't. No, I don't. I'm delighted with what's happened. Actually, no, I certainly don't. I don't, and and I guess many of us, regret that so much of football revolves around money, all that kind of thing. But I'm realistic as to how things work. I've spent a career in corporate law, so I know how the world works. So I'm at peace with all that, and just delighted to be there and frankly to see such great quality football, which, let's face it, you wouldn't have got had we stayed in the second, third division. So that's where I am with it. So I'm very happy.
You're very happy. How often do you get home to watch City?
So in normal times, I've gone through a pattern of going back for 2 or 3 weeks in the summer every year, once a year. So that would typically coincide with the opening games of the season. So I would get to see some 2 or 3 games. That would be the usual thing. I did come back especially for the Watford FA Cup final and the Chelsea final. So it's a 12-hour flight from Hong Kong. So I took the flight, and I think I was in the UK for like 28 hours and left from Wembley straight back.
That's dedication, people. That is dedication. I remember doing it for the QPR game. I flew back on the midweek game for the United, Newcastle and QPR. My father said, "Are you coming home?" I said, "I can't miss this. We've got a chance of winning it. First time in my life." I'm 55, so I've been through the good days in the 70s, the ups and downs in the 80s, and the disaster 90s, and etc. So there was no way I was missing that. So I know what that dedication means, and you jump on a flight, you just do anything to get back. Because it's your team, isn't it? And that's what people back home don't really seem to realise. When you live at home and you support City and you go in every week and home and away, when you do move away from work and to change your life, you still got the same passion for the club. You still get up in the middle of the night. You're still nervous when they're playing. You're still, you're still anxious, and you're still disappointed when they lose. But that's being part of a City fan. You never know the soap opera that City will throw at you. You know, it is what it is on that. So talk to me about what your feelings are for this season. How do you think it's going to go this season?
Well, yeah, I think it'll be very interesting. I mean, I think Chelsea are the team to beat. I actually watched Chelsea Arsenal on Sunday. I thought Lukaku looked a cracking acquisition. I think Chelsea are going to be very difficult to beat, but it's hard to see the top three being anything other than us, Chelsea and Liverpool. I think the order will finish. It's hard to know. Of course, I think we're in with a very good chance. May turn on injuries and how we do against these teams. Potentially as a ref decisions. I think it'll be very close between the three of us. But I can't see. I've got some mates who are United fans, but I really can't see United maybe fourth, maybe. But I think the top three will be us, Chelsea and Liverpool. But of course, the big one is the Champions League, and I think the focus will be on that. I think that's really going to be the priority this season.
I think after the embarrassment, the disaster of the final last year, Pep completely got it wrong. I think that's what the focus is. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think we'll get away with having no striker this year. I think the team needs a striker. We got away with it because the teams were playing every 3 games, and the games weren't spread out. Where this year you're going to get the rest periods, and I just think City might be worked out in trying to play the low block without a striker. I think will cost us. Do you think we'll get Kane? Do you think that's
my hunch is we will. It'll be signed on the 31st of August. We'll pay 120 million. That allows Levy to say to his fans, look, I pushed it as hard as I could. I got in well into six figures in the millions. So I think it will happen. That's my hunch. Because I think from his perspective, does he really want to keep a player who doesn't want to be there? You could imagine the fans turning on him if things don't work out at Spurs. And you do think his value will start to depreciate. He's another year older. He's another year nearer the end of his contract. I think if I was Levy, I would cash in. But I would of course play hardball, and that means taking it to the wire next week. So, but my hunch is he will come. Yeah. How about you? What do you think?
Are you we must get Kane or wait for Haaland, or what would you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the question is, what is the plan? The plan B. At one point, I was thinking, why go for Kane? Why not just go for Haaland, cheaper and younger? But that clearly, that doesn't seem to be the priority. I mean, I think that's what I would have gone for, based on my knowledge of football and how things pan out. But I mean, clearly Pep wants Kane. That's very clear. Again, that's another reason why I do think we will land him. I don't know, in terms of a plan B. I mean, there's is it Lewandowski, is that how you pronounce it? Who's been making some whether you could get a deal like that over the line.
They're asking for 100 million for someone who's 33. It's not worth it. Not for that. It really is. It's silly. That is just ridiculous money. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Obviously, we'll recap on the fans. You meet at the Trafalgar. And what was the road in Hong Kong where you meet for the games?
Lockhart Road in the Wan Chai district.
Okay, in Hong Kong. So if you are a City fan, get in contact with Greg on Facebook or on their website with the Hong Kong Blues. We'll put the information on the channel so you can see where you can get in contact with him. So if you've just moved over there, or you're working there and you don't know where to watch the City games and you want to watch it with your fellow Blues, by all means get in contact with Greg, get in contact with the supporters branch, join them. It's not expensive. And it's good. It's been far better to watch the games in front with all your fans than sat in your armchair at home. It feels a little bit better than sitting on your own watching the game. Get involved. You meet fellow expats as well as new City fans from Hong Kong. It's a good network, and I get involved in Melbourne doing the same thing. And trust me, it's far nicer to do that. And getting to know people from home as well will be very good for you if you just moved over to Asia. So thanks very much for coming on board, Greg. I really do appreciate it. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Not at all, except to say thank you for this opportunity, for giving us this opportunity to promote our club. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody welcome. People on business trips. We very often, I'm not saying every time, but quite a lot of times we have people who are just passing through Hong Kong on business. Very welcome as well. That's great, and thank you for this opportunity. Yeah.
And don't forget, obviously, for people in Hong Kong and around the world, press the subscribe button on YouTube, press the like button, get involved. The more subscribers we have, the more information goes around the world, and the more the supporters clubs joins together and gets to know each other. I know I go over to Asia for work now and again, so that will help for me to go to the sports clubs to watch the games. And if you're on holiday in Hong Kong, once COVID all finishes, then pop into the bar. But thank you very much, Greg. I do appreciate it. Up the Blues.
Yeah, CTID. All right. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much.